pursuit of speed is an obsession among trading firms, so they build shitty, untested algorithms. They crash and react and get infected with worms. They course with the force of the blood of the hounds, and them taking advantage of minuscule discrepancies in prices that exist for a few microseconds is nice, but I wish there were cops on the beat. Need more metaphors. Fine, it's like playing a team whose coach got to hire the goddamn referee. Goddamn referee. Oh, you can watch them write rules like they're not even trying to lie anymore. Betting pools with no risk for the clean corridor of the 51st floor. And I ripped off that shit cause I've learned from the formula. Good men will borrow and great men will steal. Don't you dare be the sap that pays the world back. You can take a joyride on the social contract. All the good men will borrow and great men will steal. Gotta be a good businessman. Haven your taxes. You earned it yourself. Better damn keep the last of it. Found a way to invest where the risk is a call to our congressmen. Tell them it wasn't our fault, cause we followed the law to the letter. Should've put someone in office who'd have written it better. But no you can't, cause every election is just round the corner. You've got signs on the streets, but the signs that I've seen from their office, it seems that they work for their donors and you can't afford it. So how many homes you got? How many votes you want? How many Anglos can fit in a melting pot? Or you can watch them write rules like they're not even trying to lie anymore. Betting pools with no risk for the clean corridor from the 51st floor. And I ripped off that shit cause I've learned from the formula. Good men will borrow and great men will steal. Don't you dare be the sap that pays the world back. You can take a joyride on the social contract. Good men will borrow and great men will steal. Gotta be a good businessman. Haven your taxes. You earned it yourself. Better damn get the last of it. You can watch them write rules like they're not even trying to lie anymore. Betting pools with no risk for the clean corridor of the 51st floor. And I ripped off that shit cause I've learned from the formula. Good men will borrow and great men will steal. Don't you dare be the sap that pays the world back. You can take a joyride on the social contract. All the good men will borrow and great men will steal. Gotta be a good businessman. Haven your taxes. You earned it yourself. Better damn keep the last of it. Good men will borrow and great men will steal. Good men will borrow and great men will steal. All the good men will borrow and great men will steal. Good men will borrow and great men will steal.
All right, take two. Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do the show live every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. We had a bit of a technical issue, and it seems to have been on my end.
Rare as it may be, but perfectly understandable and no problem at all. I think we're just picking up the stragglers anyway. Most of our crowd is late arriving.
Yeah. I think maybe this audio interface over here is seen better days. It wouldn't be the first piece of equipment that failed in the last 7 days. So I had to replace a whole ass preamp on Saturday.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, I now have a Focusrite Generation 3 Octo Pre running this mic instead of a Generation 2. I had to go to Guitar Center to buy it, and I had
Guitar Center.
I paid basically list for it because I needed it now.
That's what happens, unfortunately. Well, did at least the two die of an honorable death?
I don't know. It just stopped fucking sending audio. It would pass. it would pass audio through to the the way a preamp works is this preamp it'll either pass the audio through to an output on the back so that you can plug it into something else via cable, or it passes it via optical SPDIF cable. And it just wouldn't give it. I figured it out. There was no light coming from the optical output.
I see.
So that part died.
Not with
I don't know.
I'll
get $150, $200 back from it broken though, because it's a component that somebody can fix. But I also think maybe this Little Focusrite 2i2 I have over here that's like 8 years old is dying because I had to like wiggle the USB on the back to get it to like recognize the computer. But whatever.
On it.
This is what happens when you build a fucking spaceship that you don't need.
It's very true.
So everybody can support us at, speaking of all that, you can support us at patreon.com/Echoplex. You can throw bits here at Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you follow us on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. You could find interesting people in the chat. You could find me. You could find, I think Professor QAnon's up in here, 16 Tones. Tuck R's is in the chat. Also, sometimes you see the councilman up there during the show. HK, aka Selfweed, hangs out there. Also, the media wench will hang out there sometimes when she's not on the show. Plus, all of the Now Space.
All the friends.
So this is actually a show with stories. What's going on with our first story here?
Well, leading off tonight, as we all know, local municipalities and many municipalities are requiring that their employees get fully vaccinated in order to serve, the public. So public agencies like City of San Jose, San Francisco, and others have required their employees to get vaccinated or face consequences. In some cities, it's termination, but in many cities, it's unpaid leave of absence until you get that shit figured out. And they're offering exemptions for mostly medical reasons. They've denied a few exemptions too, but anyway, it looks as though San Francisco is doing quite well in terms of getting their public employees vaccinated, and we're going to learn more about it in this story.
San Francisco issued a vaccine mandate for its 35,000 employees in June. By August, more than 100 firefighters had submitted a letter to Human Resources refusing to get the shot unless the city met a long list of demands. Now, nearly 6 months later, Fire Chief Janine Nicholson says most of her 1,700 members are vaccinated.
And there are less than 20 who have chosen not to be vaccinated. So, yeah, we're in a good place.
The Firefighters Union president says the city put those unvaccinated members on unpaid leave this month. Union leaders say they have filed a lawsuit aiming to have the city allow them to collect accrued sick leave and vacation time while the city attorney's office considers exemptions and accommodation. While that process plays out, the department is working to reduce a staffing shortage intensified by the pandemic. The chief says COVID limits the numbers of recruits allowed in academy classes.
We have mandatory overtime right now, so our folks are working really hard. But, we have a class graduating in December. We have another class starting in January for our firefighters.
Overall, the San Francisco Department of Human Resources says 98.2% of all employees are now vaccinated. In San Francisco, Jean Elliott, NBC Bay Area News.
That's a pretty good percentage, I would say.
It's better than the city at large, but also like most of those people like are going to be like sort of civic minded because they decided to go work for the city, or in this, I think it's the city and county of SF in this case, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that more than likely the majority of the whatever it was 1.8% that's not are probably in those public safety, the unions, honestly, the POA, the firefighters union. They tend to be the most conservative folks as far as rank and file goes. And public employees go, not necessarily your public works procurement analyst 2 position, right? They're the more, I think, like you said, service aligned folks who are going to be lining up to get that vaccine right away. So I imagine a majority of those, that small percentage are in that realm. Don't hate the cops, but they should get vaccinated. So unvaccinated, unbowed, unpaid. That's pretty much how it breaks down right now.
A lot of people, especially not especially, a lot of people, we call them anti-vaxxers, were claiming that everybody was going to lose all their city workers, all their firefighters. And it seems like across, and this is, mind you, this is going to be different in the big cities. I think there's just more broadly, the big cities are going to have a larger vaccination rate, a higher vaccination rate due to things ranging from culture and the understanding that a virus really, really, really likes population density.
Very much so. And it absolutely loves unvaccinated density too, and unprotected density. But it's not at all surprising. What is surprising is not that the conspiracy theorists and our anti-vax crowd are out there, screaming holy, bloody murder. it's that, union presidents, like the president of the POA, was out there threatening that, like, oh, we're going to see a mass exodus of police officers. Your city's not going to be safe if you implement this mandate, right? Like using that as leverage again, and didn't work. And it turns out, it looks like most of their rank and file, want to get the vax anyway, or at least are going to get it to avoid the consequences. So yeah, much ado about nothing, but it's more sad that I think that the public employees themselves were threatening that. Because aren't we all supposed to be in this together? Anyway.
Well, I think the other thing is more time passes, right? The people who were like legitimately concerned, maybe because they didn't have the information they needed, or they just were afraid of novelty, possibly because they thought they think it's newer than it is, even though this mRNA technology, the vaccine technology we've been working on it for, the big we have been working on mRNA vaccine technology for quite some time. So long that quite a few hucksters are claiming they invented it, and they can't all have invented it. So,
well, most of them don't even know how it works. But that said, yes, absolutely. I think that more information is out there. I think we're seeing the numbers go up in a lot of different demographics, and I don't know that we'll ever get to 100%, but we're getting close. At least here, I do like the numbers, at least around here. So I feel a lot safer in the Bay Area than I would maybe in Mississippi.
98.2 is about as close to 100% as you're going to get, honestly. I mean,
I'm thinking with the exemptions, especially, I figure the exemptions make up the most of that 1.8%. So you're dealing with a very small percentage, I think, of resistors. And I hear them every day, or every week, or every other week, when the county has their board of supervisors meeting, and I tune in because, I'm in the same house as the good wife. And it's one lady, swear to God, who got shit canned because she refused to get the vaccine. And she is an anti-vaxxer, and calls in every week, gives her 2 minutes of public comment, bitching about how she got fired for not getting the vaccine. So she has a lot of free time to call into public meetings,
Yeah, I think, I just think as more time passes and we're not seeing the people getting ill or whatever as the alarmists would have had you believe, I think those who were truly on the fence and aren't like ideologically against vaccines are just like, well, fuck it, I'll go get it because I like my job.
Right.
I like the benefits, and I'm getting pressure from the bosses, and it's just not worth it. And it seems like it's safe. And that's good, I guess.
Job security in the public sector is very good leverage, frankly. It's not as though the salary is usually not the best, maybe, but the benefits, the insurance, the longer term, the pension, the longer term benefits that's really why you take the job, right? For that kind of security.
Or if you're a civil engineer, you just don't have, you don't have a lot of options. So
there's not a lot of civil engineering happening outside of civic life.
Right. But the civil engineers are probably the kind of people who are the first in line to get the fucking thing anyway,
Oh, for sure. They're practically scientists.
Yeah. Well, as people say, engineering is the application of science.
There you go.
So we're going to move on into winners and losers. We're going to have to do a little bit of lightning round status here because we did miss 10 minutes and we kind of run it a little tight on Tuesday. In winners and losers, our first story is San Jose's police state gets a boost from holiday thievery. No.
Well, the smash and grabs, at Lululemon and Banana Republic and all the hot spots, it gives an opportunity for white bootlicking elected officials to stand up and defend white bootlicking residents and blonde Bambis, literally from Almaden, who are worried about their shopping experience being disrupted by this. And they use this as an opportunity, much like gun advocates or gun control advocates try to use the wake of mass shootings to leverage, better gun policy and always fail. In this regard, this is sort of the reverse, where people who prefer a police state are going to use this as these kind of events as an opportunity to scare people into accepting more than they normally would when it comes to oversight.
And I would just tell you that a police state, it's counterintuitive, but a police state loves guns.
Oh, absolutely.
And
maybe they have them.
We don't have time. We don't have time to get into the reasons why, but let me tell you, a police state loves a heavily armed right-wing populace. Correct,
because they'll be there to back them up. But anyway, here's a story about what some leaders in San Jose are talking about doing, or actually moving forward, because it got through the council last week.
In the South Bay, the San Jose City Council has approved a plan to spend $250,000 of COVID relief funds on license plate readers. Mayor Sam Liccardo says the readers are an important tool to track down suspects.
Well, we know that license plate readers in cities throughout the country are being used effectively to address investigative needs and chasing down suspects, for example, in drive-by shootings and auto thefts, or as we've been seeing recently, these mob robberies and burglaries of retail stores.
The mayor added that the use will be restricted to felonies and there will be strict privacy restrictions attached.
Sure, there will.
Yeah, I want to know what he's spoken. Sam Liccardo, I'm running for Congress. Yeah, so what do you think about that?
I don't know. Fucking Scientology can have him soak in the city of San Jose, I guess. Like,
do you think it'll be productive?
No.
Right. To me, it's problematic, obviously, for a lot of reasons. Accuracy, who holds access to the information, just a variety of problems that could result from that. Much like, photo radar and all these other sort of absent-minded police state things. I actually prefer police to be, making those stops themselves rather than all this other malfeasance that they're up to. But it's just another way to smugly, squeeze a little bit more out of us in terms of our privacy and our our sense of autonomy to some extent.
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't know. I think it's like not that big a deal because I don't drive, but
right.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, I'm also not going to be I'm not going to be caught up. Hopefully, I'm not going to the mall anytime soon, right? And I'm not going to get caught up in one of these, mass robbery incidents, right? And accidentally have my car scanned. That being said, it's more just to me, it's a principle. It's just another step, right? And what's the next step? What's the next line? What's the next line? What's the next thing they're going to propose that takes us a step backwards instead of a step forward? Definitely.
Anywho, moving right along.
This next story, me and the good wife were fucking dunking on people on Twitter. So this is a story where it's called No Badge, No Gun, No Service, and we're just going to let it ride.
We do have a follow-up now to a story we first told you about last night. A San Francisco restaurant is apologizing after its staff refused to serve 3 uniformed police officers. The North Beach restaurant, Hilda and Jesse, asked the officers to leave because the staff felt uncomfortable by the presence of their weapons. It led to swift backlash on Yelp and other social media. Co-owners are now calling it an unfortunate incident and mistake. In a statement they posted on Instagram, it reads in part, quote, "We are grateful to all members of the force who work hard to keep us safe, especially during these challenging times. We hope this will be a teachable moment for us as we repair and continue to build bridges with the SFPD."
So, we're going to skip the next story on our docket because it's basically the same story. But when this first dropped, like, people on Twitter were trying to say that it was illegal to do that. And I got into it with a couple people because I was like, hey, I was like, they can tell the cops to leave. I'm like, especially because they're cops.
Yeah, no, they do have right to refuse anyone service. They're a business.
And uniformed cops, if they don't have a warrant, they have no right to be on the fucking property anyway. Like, correct, unless there was like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, and I was trying to educate people. I'm like, you can do the same thing. If the cops come to your house, you could tell them to piss off if they don't have a warrant. Why can't this business do that? Correct. Yeah, they have no other right, no right beyond anyone else to be on your property if you haven't given permission or if a judge hasn't given them permission. So absolutely, 100%, they could do that. It's just unfortunate that I feel like the good wife and I are kind of bummed that they backed down. We were like, we're going to go to this place. We're going to eat all the food. We're going to tip really well. What quality for these guys. But now we're like, you're apologizing? No, don't back down now. It's only been a day. Like, at least hold out for more than 24 hours. Like see how it plays out. I think maybe they got pressure from other city or county of San Francisco organizations going, oh, it would be a shame if we inspected you all the time, or sure. I could see that.
And they could have gotten threats, honestly, behind the scenes from straight up from cops. It wouldn't be surprising. I mean, we've seen police in Los Gatos go to the city council and rant against the city council, right? And call and call them out directly. So it's happened everywhere else. So why wouldn't you see the threats come here? I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it was funny watching people lose their minds on Twitter. I have a lot of fun when people lose their minds over shit like this on Twitter.
You're not allowed to do that. It's in the same vein as the vaccine mandates, right? No one's mandating that you get a vaccine. No one's forcing you to go get the vaccine. If you don't want to get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine. There are just organizations, entities, businesses, private businesses, public businesses, but businesses nonetheless, that are, making certain requirements of their employees, of people who participate and use their services. So that's their choice, and it's your choice to use those services. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You don't have to work for the city of San Jose. You don't have to get your services from them either. You can go off the grid if you want to. And why aren't you already? If you're refusing the vaccine, you're obviously in that kind of mold. So maybe you should go off the grid.
The other thing, and chat's bringing this up, is that hey, if people feel intimidated by the mere presence of the cops, maybe that's a cop problem, and the cops need to think about that a little bit.
Right. I admit I get uncomfortable just being around uniformed cops with their guns, exposed, and the ammo sitting there on their belt and their little utility belt, right? Yeah, I think about that all the time. That's the only thing I can think about when a cop's in the room. Honestly, a uniformed cop. I'm looking at the gun and thinking about the damage that shit could do, and what's going through that cop's head right now.
I run into the cops a lot at 7-Eleven, and they try to say hi, and I just froze them out. I'm just like don't talk to them.
Yeah,
like,
please don't.
Plus, it's just if there's no reason for you to ever call the cops unless you are in the unfortunate position of having had to call them. Otherwise, don't tell them shit.
Right.
You'll never meet a defense lawyer that's like, oh boy, am I glad my client talked to the cops. I'm only that person's lawyer because they decided to talk to the cops. Yippee.
Yeah, just be glad. Most of us should just be glad we almost never have to have an interaction with a cop, right? Like, it would not be the same if I were, a different color
or a different neighborhood. Neighborhood. You and me, especially, it's very neighborhood.
Yeah,
very much so. Where we live means that our interactions with the cops are not going to be. It'll be like a group of me and my friends walking home from the avenue drunk and having the cops roll down their window to laugh at us.
I can absolutely say that the only times that I have had interactions with cops outside of maybe a handful, and one we've talked about extensively on this show, I have brought it on myself. So it's not as though the cops have gone out of their way to harass the white dude. I've definitely I've caused them to take umbrance with me.
Yeah. My last experience with a cop was I was riding at night, and the cop slowed down, got next to me, said, "Hey, I see there's a rear light on your bike. It's not on. Turn that light on." And then just drove off. I was like, all right, dude, fuck you.
Umbrage. I was driving like 20 miles over the speed limit, I think was the last time.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules are, but fucking come on.
Got to have those lights working.
So we're gonna catch up on a story we've been covering a little bit. There was a Los Gatos party house, and that seems fine. It's like a ritzy area, right? You'd be like, oh, I'd like to be invited to a party there. Nope. Full ass grown adult mother was hosting drug and alcohol parties for minors there for a long time, and it appears that it's not the Los Gatos police. It's the Monte Sereno Sheriff's Department up there or something.
Oh no, they have their own. It's the Los Gatos Monte Sereno Police Department.
Oh,
they
gotcha.
have a joint police department.
Well, it seems like the law enforcement knew about this, but didn't do anything about it. Probably because the captain of the football team or something hung out there, and that was one of the cops' kids.
That's a good bet. Let's see what happened.
That's how long it took for authorities to arrest Los Gatos mom Shannon O'Connor. The question is why? O'Connor is accused of throwing those alcohol-fueled sex parties for underage teens. Our investigative unit has learned that the town's high school received complaints about her for months. But O'Connor wasn't arrested until she moved out of state. Investigative reporter Candace Nguyen first broke this story yesterday. She joins us now. So is this a case that the ball was dropped, or is this how long it takes?
We're hearing both sides, Jess, depending on who you ask. O'Connor is now facing 39 criminal charges, and most of those incidents occurred after the high school received the first complaint and sent it to police. Internal emails we've exclusively obtained show at least one parent demanding the school and police act faster. From the first parent's allegation about Shannon O'Connor to Los Gatos High School in December 2020, 10 months went by before she was arrested in October of this year. During that time, prosecutors say O'Connor put more underage teens in danger, resulting in dozens of criminal charges. Then she moved to Idaho. Authorities say when they arrested her there, they found her with 10 underage boys and 2 underage girls in the home where she was staying. Internal Los Gatos High School emails obtained exclusively by the investigative unit reveal the parent who sent this complaint in February told the school Shannon has faced 0 consequences from Los Gatos High and the local police.
I think at first blush, it's very difficult to understand maybe why this case took so long.
Rachel Frost is a 20-year law enforcement veteran who now trains schools on how to protect students.
But when you're looking at the number of students that are involved, the number of moving parts, et cetera, for law enforcement, you have to have evidence. You can't just take it on any individual complainant's word that this is what occurred.
Emails show some of the challenges police faced. In September, a different parent emailed the school's new principal, angry their child was removed from his history class for a meeting with police regarding the Shannon situation without their permission. The principal responded, it appears that this did not follow the school's practice and that he's working to ensure it doesn't happen again.
And you've got a lot of teenagers who may not have wanted to dime off the person who's providing them the opportunity to drink, the opportunity to hang out.
Los Gatos High School told the investigative unit it did not hesitate to forward complaints to police. In a statement Friday, the Los Gatos Monte Sereno Police Department said detectives actively pursued available investigative leads, collected evidence. This information was important to the corroboration of facts and filing of criminal charges against Ms. O'Connor. The parent behind the February complaint tells us she feels the school and police failed. She wrote in her initial report, this has gone on too long, and too many children have been hurt, not just my 14-year-old girl. Currently, O'Connor is in custody. We've reached out to her and her attorney, but have not heard back. She is expected to enter a plea at her next court hearing in about 2 weeks. Candace Nguyen, NBC Bay Area News.
All right, thank you very much, Candace.
Wait a minute. I've had the cops show up when none of this was happening at a party just because there was a party. And I'm not talking about at this apartment. I'm talking at single family homes, even in Los Gatos. So you'd think that as soon as the cops got wind of this, it would be easy enough to just fucking show up when there's a party.
Yes. One would think that. One would think that if you start hearing complaints from parents in Los Gatos too, you'd imagine they'd be pretty finely tuned and ready to jump into action and not sit on it for very long. And it seems like it was pretty obvious. It wasn't as though these were small gatherings, right? And the word was getting around. People knew they were getting this from multiple locations, it looks like. So I don't understand why something wasn't done to put the kibosh on it long before. And there's this best practices of we can't just take one complaint and run with it. We have to get corroborating evidence, and we have to get all the facts. Again, different neighborhood, different people, and the cops show up on a whim, right? Like on a phone call, a random anonymous phone call, and they show up at some place, and some guy ends up choked out in the street, dead. That's it's again only in Los Gatos, right? This shit would have been broke. This shit would have been busted down if it was on the east side in San Jose, or if it was
even just in my neighborhood.
Yeah, it'd be shut down right away.
I think there's more to this. I think something along the lines of the fucking captain of the football team was there. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those, it's not that specifically maybe, but it's one of those kind of things. She was friends with other parents maybe who didn't mind that their kids were there, and their parents, knew people. there's a lot of fucking money sloshing around and a lot of influence peddling going on in that little town.
Absolutely. It could have been anyone's kid, right? It could have been a congressperson's kid. It could have been, tech mogul, tech bro.
Right.
VC,
Even
right. Someone with a lot of money.
Yeah. Some like tech money could have something to do with it. Not that like I don't know if her money's tech money, but some rich tech person's kid might have been there and was like, didn't want that, like getting all like up in their kid's business or whatever because of their future.
Well, this is another space where I'm starting to think now motive, right? So what's her deal, right? Is she just a perv, or does she like to watch, or is she getting some money from someone to set this shit up, right?
Yeah,
from the kids, I don't know, but somewhere, right? So someone's getting paid, right?
Probably, because like I said, there's a lot of money sloshing around in Los Gatos. I think we're gonna learn more, or we're never going to hear about this again.
Right. Well, I don't know, man. She got picked up in Boise with 10 more kids living in the house. So maybe she might have a thing. It could be a thing, but
there could be a whole thing. This could be like the tip of some iceberg, or this could just be some wacky lady who liked to throw sex parties and like decided to just do it for her kids instead of herself. I mean, it could be anything from like a trafficking situation to just some wackadoodle.
Well, I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but I'm going to lean towards the former there. But we'll see what happens. I think you're right. There is more to this story, and we'll find out more.
We're going to find out a little bit more right now.
Yeah, why not?
Grooming young girls for her son and his football friends. That is one.
Oh shit! I called that shit. Listen, man. Ding, ding. Fucking, I called that shit.
Wait for it. There we go. Good job.
I have another one too. I've one.
You have we have the soundboard still.
Yeah, here we go.
Ding 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 ding.
There it is.
Allegations made by concerned parents against the Los Gatos mom accused of throwing those booze-filled sex parties for South Bay kids. It's a story you'll see only on ABC Bay Area tonight. Our investigative reporter Candace Wynn joins us now. And Candace, I know you got some internal emails revealing some of the first allegations about Shannon O'Connor.
That's right, Jess. The emails we obtained through public records requests reveal at least 2 parents warned Los Gatos High School about Shannon O'Connor as far back as a year ago. The school reported the accusations to police, but according to prosecutors, O'Connor continued to put more children in danger for months. The first complaint about Shannon O'Connor to Los Gatos High School came from a parent in December 2020, according to internal school emails obtained exclusively by the investigative unit. Shannon Bruga, or O'Connor, buys alcohol for teenagers. My daughter overdosed on edibles. Then interim principal Paul Robinson responded the same day. We will follow up on this and inform the police. 2 months later, February 17th, a different parent sent an assistant principal a detailed multi-page email saying she had just filed a police report alleging criminal contact by O'Connor with her child and at least 5 other 14-year-old girls, as well as at least 1 Fisher Middle School student. The parent said O'Connor groomed, befriended, and influenced these girls, procuring them for her son and his friends, mostly Los Gatos High School football players. Shortly after, Principal Robinson changed a female student's schedule so she could avoid 2 male students. He told his staff, "This is another one of those out-of-school things that everyone expects us to discipline for." Robinson emailed a police officer saying, "Most of this is for the police department to deal with. This has gotten way out of hand."
I think school officials are well within reason to say, we referred this to police because it's a police matter. It was happening outside of school control.
Brett Sokolow is the president of ATIXIA, the Association of Title IX Administrators. Title IX is a law prohibiting sex discrimination at federally funded schools.
Could the school have done more? When these things blow up, they're always bigger in retrospect than they appear to be at the time.
It was, according to the parent behind the latest report. On March 18th, the parent told the school about O'Connor allowing an underage teen to drive her SUV on school property. A boy allegedly fell off the car, hit his head, and was vomiting for days with a concussion. Principal Robinson responded to his staff. Police are already involved in the complaint. Their detectives have this case. Robinson's own chief of student support services appears to correct him, saying, "No, this is our own internal processes regarding claims of code conduct violations." Robinson is no longer interim principal of Los Gatos High. In July, Kevin Buchanan took the job. When Shannon O'Connor was arrested in October, Buchanan responded to an inquiring parent, "I was unaware of the entire situation until today."
Schools are really fighting a battle on two fronts right now, right? There are a lot of parents who want schools to back out of parental responsibilities. The same parents turn around and say to the school, "Why aren't you dealing with this?" And the school says, "Well, it's outside of our boundaries. It's outside of our jurisdiction."
O'Connor is facing 39 felony and misdemeanor charges, including child endangerment and sexual battery. Not all of the allegations in these emails are part of those charges. She has yet to enter a plea in court and has not responded to our attempts to reach her.
Candace, 6 months is a long time between when that first parent complaint came in to when O'Connor was arrested. Isn't there concern for what happened in between?
Absolutely, there is concern, Jess. During that time, prosecutors say O'Connor endangered children at least 2 more times. We reached out to the DA's office. The DA's office told me today it took all summer and fall for police officers to interview everyone, get enough evidence so they can prove it in court. And Jess, I do want to add, just minutes ago, I received a statement from Los Gatos High School saying that they never hesitated to report these issues to police.
Okay, Candace, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll keep on following this.
As will we. As will we. Well,
so
ding, ding, ding. Very nice call.
In the first clip, they mentioned that the police came and questioned someone at the school. Police probably do that all the time, but the school should, I think it's incumbent upon the school, if not the police department, to immediately inform the parents. In fact, I'm not sure if it's illegal. Because if somebody's under 18, I think that they have the right to have their parents there during questioning, and then the parents would be the ones who would invoke the right to counsel.
That sounds about right. I mean, every minor's entitled to that. They can answer for themselves if they want to, but they'd have to know that they can say, "Okay, stop. I want my parents here," right? Or my parents should be here,
or a counselor, or like somebody there representing the interest of the minor, because the cops may very well be there trying to, the minor may be a victim or whatever, but if they're being questioned about a party, they're probably going to be hesitant to tell the police anything because maybe they were engaged in underage drinking, and having someone there to represent them is probably good for everybody anyway, because that kid was drinking like Jägermeister, because honestly, who drinks Jägermeister but kids? They're not going to say shit. But if there's a lawyer there or their parents are there, they go, no, they're not here to bust you. They're trying to find out what happened. You're going to be in big trouble if you don't say what you know. And if you end up, being arrested for underage drinking, we have your back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's sketch. They shouldn't have done that. But also like we were saying before, dude, if this wouldn't have been in Los Gatos, and I was right about that football team shit.
Oh yeah, very much so. They would have busted this shit up ages ago. But yeah, it also takes, in those kind of situations, though, just stepping back a second, it does take the kid knowing that they have those rights too, right? The cops are just going to take every advantage they can get, just like anyone else would, right? Well, at least in their position, I don't know. But they're going to take every advantage they can get. So the kid has to know his rights or her rights, and they have to make sure that they stand up for themselves. And oftentimes they just don't know they have those rights. And the cops aren't going to be helping them out by telling them.
You know who the fuck would know what those kids' rights are? A good guidance counselor.
Oh, show. But guess what? We don't really fund guidance counselors anymore. We barely fund teachers. And we definitely don't fund enough guidance counselors.
I think if it's not the case, I think that like either the parent or like a school guidance counselor absolutely should have to be there if the police are questioning a student.
Well, 100%. It should be policy. I don't believe it is necessarily. It depends on the district or the school, but mostly the district. But yeah, it should be policy. Absolutely.
Yeah, just say, hey, we're not letting you question our student until the parents are here. or until we confirm that the parents don't care, and or I don't know if this is a minor. I think there might be some laws about this shit. I'm not sure. And that's it's like, oh, we wish the good wife was here, but that's like a specific piece of law too. Not every person with a law degree is going to know that specific thing.
Well, like the guy said, the one talking head did say, Mr. Sokolow, that school districts are in a tight spot, and schools are in a tight spot too, because it's a legal matter, and the school district and the school has no legal jurisdiction in cases like that, right? It's really. It's the cops' turf, right? It just so happens that it happened on campus, right? But that's the only reason why the school's involved in the first place at all, right? If it happened across the street, the school wouldn't technically be involved at all, more than likely.
Well, I mean, it didn't happen at the school. The cop just knew where to find the kid at the school.
Correct.
So that's that's why it's shitty, is because the kid has to be at school. Whereas if they go to the kid's home, the kid can go, oh, you don't have a warrant, get out of here. Or the parent can be like, hey, what's going on? If the kid's a minor, there are 18. This could also just be somebody who happened to be 18 years old and was a high school student, like a senior, and then things probably get way fuzzier.
Right. Well, it's what I'm saying is there is no the school district it's not their jurisdiction. So if there are laws or policies, it's the state or it's the the municipality or whoever oversees the public safety jurisdiction, the sheriff or the police department that's there. The school has nothing to do with it. The school wouldn't have anything to do with it. And yet everyone's going to expect that the school has a policy or has something to do with it. And they don't. They're just sort of the go-between, and the interrogation's happening on their campus, right? Or whatever it is. But it has nothing to, they have no power to, other than maybe offering the kid their rights, right? If they want to, hey, do you want your parents here? Do you want to get a lawyer?
Or hey, the police. Yeah, the school at the bare minimum has to be like, hey, the police are here. You have a right not to answer any of their questions. You have a right to your parents being present. You have a right to an attorney. We can invoke those rights on your behalf.
Right. Well, regardless, it would be on them to make that choice. The school official administrators, that is, to offer the student that, or the cops could do that too.
I think the school administrator should be like, all right, that's fine, but we're not pulling this kid out of class until we have either their parents or an attorney here.
Yeah, they can.
I hope you don't mind waiting. Yeah, we're not telling you what class they're in.
They can absolutely make that choice. I'm just saying that most districts should have a policy that dictates that.
I think that should be the policy. In fact, I think that should just be the fucking law if the kid's under 18. Now, if the kid's if the kid's in high school and they just turned 18, that gets real muddy, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. That'd be an interesting thing. Like, it's not probably not a fuzzy legal case, but it would be an interesting thing to talk about. Yeah. Anyway,
we'll get into that some other time.
One of the first local stories we ever covered on this whole network was the ghost ship, and it's been 5 years. Real quick, anybody who doesn't know about the ghost ship, you can first of all just look it up, Ghost Ship Oakland. But there was a rave that was thrown at a place that was not a place you should throw a rave. It was like kind of a live workspace, and there was like furniture everywhere. The stairs were not proper, so people were climbing up like basically a pallet to get up to the second floor. There were tapestries, otherwise known as kindling, all over the walls. And the whole place caught on fire because somebody, I guess, ran an extension cord like way too far. And, sound systems, if they're loud, they're pulling a lot of juice and they create a lot of heat. And the big moral of the story here is if you're going to throw a rave, do it in an empty warehouse. So if your sound system catches on fire, there's nothing else around it to catch on fire. You can't really catch a steel and concrete structure on fire. So don't throw your raves in a fucking wooden building with tapestries everywhere. But here's like the local news hit about basically a little bit of a retrospective of 5 years after this I would say a tragic, not just unfortunate event.
An emotional and difficult day for dozens of families. 5 years ago today, the Ghost Ship Warehouse fire in Oakland took 36 lives. This is what the building looks like today. Still there, just the shell though, the roof never replaced. The family that owns the building has filed for bankruptcy. The criminal case is now over, so what's next for the grieving families? Here's NBC Bay Area's Melissa Colorado.
If Instagram is supposed to be a highlight reel of your life, This is a post David Gregory never wanted to write. The 20-year-old looking into the distance is his daughter, Michaela, the youngest of 36 victims in the Ghost Ship Warehouse fire. The heartbroken father writes, "Today marks the 5th anniversary of the last time I saw Michaela, the last time I hugged her, and the last time I said to her that I loved her."
This is still very raw, very upsetting.
Mary Alexander is the attorney who represented 34 families and some of the survivors in a civil lawsuit against the Ng family who owned the warehouse, where an underground party was held on the night of the deadly fire. The family was never criminally charged, but they agreed to file for bankruptcy early this year.
We worked it out that their assets will be sold through the bankruptcy and the proceeds will go to the families.
Alexander says the sale of at least 4 properties might raise up to $7 million. Earlier this year, master tenant Derek Almena was sentenced for his role in the fire, but avoided prison time and continues to serve out his sentence at home with an ankle monitor. Last year, the city of Oakland settled a civil lawsuit by agreeing to pay $33 million to victims' families and one survivor who was left with serious injuries. Alexander says money was never the ultimate goal for the families. It was always about accountability.
There needs to be better oversight, inspections by the city. This building wasn't even on the Oakland list to inspect.
This was a memorial concert for the victims last year, put on by the Voices of Silicon Valley Choir. The choir is back again today with another tribute concert to highlight the 36 lives.
We want to remember Ghost Ship artists for their creative work. We don't want to remember them for the building that took their lives.
In Oakland, Melissa Colorado, NBC Bay Area News.
Oof.
Yeah, I don't know if I was ever offered to play a gig there. I think I might have been. There was a spot that one of my friends warned me off of. They're like, "Hey, don't work with those promoters. They're using an unsafe location." And but yeah, I've thrown raves. We've thrown raves where I think maybe we took risks we shouldn't have taken to make money. But those risks didn't include Tinderbox. Those risks included too many people in this space, maybe. But these spaces were always like, there might be tapestries on the wall, but behind the tapestry was fucking concrete.
Steel and concrete.
And so yeah, this is just bad all around. And I've been to some spaces that were a little less suited, but I think the promoters and the events planner and the space owners did a pretty good job of making sure everything was cool. I've never been to a place like this. Place had a broken staircase, and I've never been to a place where there was a broken staircase where they're like, "Oh, just get up however you get up."
And people were living there, right? Too. It was, I mean, not to code, obviously, but there were residences up in there. So,
yeah, that's why there were all the couches and tapestries and shit that ended up being the reason people couldn't get out.
Right. So yeah, as shit like this, you can get away with it only for so long, and it's bound to bite somebody in the ass sooner or later. So, just unfortunate for the families.
All right, so we're gonna move on to get your shit together because we're kind of up against it here.
That's cool. We don't have to bash in the Oakland PD too much tonight.
Yeah, we'll do it. I'm sure we'll talk shit about the Oakland cops again another day.
We can pull that. We can hold that for next week. It's going on right now, actually.
Yeah. So we're moving on to get your shit together, and I guess this is the whole Bay Area, and that would be get your cats together.
Exactly. We got to get our shitting cats together.
COVID is causing shortages that no one saw coming.
Yeah, and now you can add spay and neuter services to the list. KPI X5's John Ramos reports maybe leading to a population explosion of feral cats.
It doesn't really help to remove feral cats from an area because it just creates a vacuum and more of them will move in. What really works is a process called TNR for trap, neuter, and return. But the pandemic has made that effort a lot harder. Feral cats can be found anywhere, creek beds, alongside freeways, even behind supermarkets. And left alone, their breeding can grow exponentially.
So you have a couple of cats that you leave unfixed, and in 3 or 4 years, there can be hundreds.
So groups like Community Concern for Cats in Contra Costa County send out volunteers to trap the felines so they can be spayed or neutered. But President Gemma Boyd says there's a problem.
The vets on the outside, regular practices have stopped doing this for rescue groups. They used to do a small percentage of their business for rescues to help with the cause, and they had to quit doing it because their businesses exploded.
The rise in pet ownership during the pandemic increased the demand for vet care, and Dr. Kate Hurley at UC Davis says it's happening when there is a shortage of veterinary technicians.
COVID just added to a system that was already very stressed. And then as a few people start burning out and be like, I can't do this anymore, then for the people who's left, it gets more and more, the workload gets more and more intense. And so it's easy to see how a vicious cycle gets going.
Now, feral cat trappers like Monty Montavon have to wait to collect animals until he knows the neuter clinic has an opening.
I try to trap it when I have an appointment so I can bring the cat in, and that doesn't always work out because you don't get the cat that night. You have an appointment for a Wednesday, you don't get that cat on Wednesday night. It doesn't show up for some reason or another.
So you actually have to make the appointment before you ever trap the cat?
Right, correct.
And then you hope you can do it?
Then you hope you can do it.
The cat rescuers say the only immediate help is for people to get their own pets neutered, so they're not adding to the feral population and the misery faced by having to live in the wild. In Contra Costa County, John Ramos, KPIX 5.
And Dr. Hurley says she would like to see the veterinary establishment create a new class of technicians who would be trained solely to perform spay and neuter surgeries.
Emergency spay and neuter in the field.
So what happened, I guess, is that a lot of people bought a lot of animals because they were stuck at home and they were bored or alone, and they were like, okay, fine, we'll get a cat. And now like the vets are just overrun with, probably not just spay and neutering, but like, general things that people take their animal to the vet for. And so there aren't enough spaces for to neuter the stray cats. I like at the end how they said it, the horrors of living outside. It's like, that's an animal, you idiot. It knows how to live outside.
They've got fur. That's what the fur is for. But don't worry, Monty Montavon, the veteran cat trapper, is here to save the day, along with the Community Concern for Cats of Contra Costa County, the 6 Cs.
I don't think it's that big a deal that there's stray cats. I thought that was just a thing that some cats were.
It could just be a story that was on a very slow news night, or they had it in the can for a while, or someone complained. Usually these stories come from one person complaining. There are a lot of feral cats.
Yeah, and so they looked into it and made a story out of like basically nothing.
They did their own research.
Well, good for them.
Well, shall we move down ballot?
Yeah, we should. What's our first story in down ballot recall watch?
Well, these sort of like have there's two stories that we have here have a relation to each other. So like I said earlier, when the police state has an opportunity, they're going to take an inch and maybe take the mile too. So Mayor Liccardo in San Jose has long had a bug up his butt about bail reform and criminal justice reform, and not wanting to let arch criminals back on the streets so that they can murder people in Almaden. So as we've covered on this show before. So now he's pretty much bitching about that again.
So this sounds almost unbelievable. In Santa Clara County, murder suspects are being released by judges on little or no bail. Critics say it's astonishing. Supporters say it's not that simple. As NBC Bay Area's Marianne Favreau explains, at least one of those murder suspects is now believed to have fled the country.
Police are frustrated. They say they arrested a homicide suspect back in January. And now, because of a judge's decision, they have to search for him again. Oscar Soto allegedly killed a man in San Jose on January 10th. San Jose police arrested him the next day. Now police say they believe Soto has fled to Mexico because a judge released him on what's called SORP, Supervised Own Recognizance Program, essentially released without bail.
We're furious. I mean, when you remove all accountability for bad behavior, all you're doing is emboldening criminals to go out and commit more crime.
As we first told you yesterday, other murder suspects are now out of custody too, including Efrain Anzuris. Court documents show Judge Philip Pennypacker put him on house arrest with a few restrictions, like submit to searches. His alleged accomplice, Alfred Castillo, was also placed on supervised release. And Margarita Santalan, who is accused of killing a 13-year-old boy in San Jose, is also out on SORP and a $100,000 bond. San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo says the victims' families and the community deserve better.
I appreciate the need for bail reform, but the pendulum swung too far, and this is imperiling our communities. There's just no reason why a murder suspect should be released without bail on his own recognizance.
The president of the San Jose Police Union says something needs to change.
There needs to be accountability. Our legislators, groups like the ACLU that are supporting these types of measures and initiatives that are weakening our communities, they're not even making it less safe. They're making it outright dangerous.
We reached out to the Northern California chapter of the ACLU, which is
that terrorist organization.
Efforts by police associations in San Jose and nationwide to link California's voter-approved justice reforms and pretrial justice measures to an alleged increase in crime are disingenuous and exploit crime victims and their families. In San Jose, Marianne Favreau, NBC Bay Area News.
Now, the ACLU had a pretty good response. They're like, hey, the people voted for this, actually.
Yeah, right. And people support it, just like they supported Chesa Boudin for DA in San Francisco because he wanted to do the reform. And just because a couple people in the establishment are upset about the reform and they filed some signatures to get him recalled, don't mean that he should stop fighting for the reform. And he's not.
Well, like the other thing is like, they just showed people who are out on, like their own recognizance, or one of the people had $100,000 bond, and they just showed them like they're part of the same problem, but they didn't say that those people ran.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was about to say they're apparently serving out their own recognizance program just fine, even though they have scary pictures just like the other guy, right? But yeah, no, they didn't decide to run. So hey, what is that? 3 out of 4? Not bad.
Well, it's just that like that's not the same thing, and it's a little bit disingenuous, I think.
Yeah.
For the news to sort of frame it like that this is part of the same problem. And I don't know, the dude ran. Fucking people post bail and run too. Rich people post bail and run all the time.
Right. Well, they didn't hammer home that point, right? They brought up the other accomplices and they showed their mugshots, right, to scare folks, but they didn't emphasize the point. These people are still in custody, right? These people are still in under house arrest. They have not run, right? Whereas the whole thing was about the one guy who did, who, by the way, hasn't necessarily committed a crime again. He just ran off to Mexico. So we'll see what happens there. But it's also, these are also judge decisions too. Judges have discretionary powers. So it's not just some sort of policy you can come in and change, right? And it's really not a policy that a city mayor can affect anyway. So that's why he goes out and does press conferences and talks about it, because he can't control it any more than the Police Officers Association president can control it. The judges want to do this. The judges want to do this.
So is our friend Liccardo going to run on like a progressive but tough on crime sort of platform when he tries to run for whatever, maybe state assembly or state senate?
He's looking at Congress. He's looking higher than that now. I think he's waiting for some retirements to happen. But he's positioning himself on guns, on criminal justice reform, a lot of national issues. And then of course trying to position himself as a tech leader, right? Innovation leader. So yeah, he's angling for Congress.
Right, and it seems like he's trying to position himself as for gun control and a moderate on this criminal justice reform. I don't know. I think he's going to get creamed if he tries to run for Congress. I think he won't be able to win his primary. All
depends. I mean, he's the mayor. But it all depends on the competition and the how the race shapes up in terms of where folks are at. He's very appealing on both sides. Like, Republicans love him. He's a Democrat Republicans can love. He's a conservative enough Democrat for like the moderates, right? The progressives will see right through him and already do. But are they enough to, overcome his kind of more broad appeal? But it depends on the district. It depends on who's running.
Well, who has that seat now? The one that he
the seats are evolving too because the lines are being redrawn as we speak. But right now it's Zoe Lofgren is in the seat. So, but the district includes a lot of South County too. So Mount Morgan Hill, San Martin, Evergreen, areas that aren't as white as the city on the whole. So we shall see what happens. Others have been rumored to run. So other big names are going to jump into that race no matter what. So a congressional seat in a Democratic safe zone is like gold because it has no term limit. You can, if you want that job, you could have that job for as long as you want, as long as you get elected the first time.
That is accurate. So we have one more story here in Downballot / Recall Watch, and it's about, you had mentioned Chesa Boudin. Apparently the recall is on. Hopefully everybody gets out and votes no on that recall. And he apparently spoke at an event and said he's working to fix a broken criminal justice system.
Well, let's hear more.
Embattled district attorney hitting back at his critics today. Chesa Boudin says he is working to not only fix a broken criminal justice system, but also to hold criminals accountable. KTV's Christian Captain joins us now live from San Francisco's Hall of Justice. And Christian, today's rally comes as Boudin faces that recall election coming up next year.
Yeah, that's right. The DA is saying that his work is making the status quo uncomfortable, and he says that's part of the reason behind the recall effort. At a rally in San Francisco's Excelsior District, District Attorney Chesa Boudin's supporters pushed back against the recall effort and the narrative that the DA is weak on crime, calling him a reformer. Many saying the criminal justice system as it stands now is broken and biased against the poor and people of color.
We look forward to working more with DA Boudin to continue to reimagine the criminal legal system into one that gets to the root causes of crime, while also seeing people as deserving of full dignity.
We also partnered with the district attorney also speaking out, saying he's worked hard to reform the system, like taking legal action against corporations or law enforcement officers who break the law. He says those efforts have brought out detractors who are behind the recall effort.
That is the kind of approach to public safety and to accountability and to inclusion of all of our communities that I am committed to during the remainder of my term. And it's precisely because of those policies that the San Francisco Republican Party has endorsed the recall against me.
Recall organizers say the DA has proven ineffective and point to high-profile crimes that have plagued the city since he came into office. Quote, with each incident over the last 2 years, we become more resolute in the desire to see him out of office. His denial of reality with regards to the need to hold criminals accountable for their actions is a slap in the face to each and every victim. The DA is saying he's relying on police bringing him strong cases and that he'll ensure consequences for those who are caught committing crimes in the city.
Across the country, about 98% of criminal cases plea out. It is the exceptional case that goes to trial. That's true in San Francisco. It always has been. It always will be. It does not mean there's no consequences. Let's be very clear. My conviction rate for murders has gone up.
And we also heard from the city's Police Officers Association addressing Boudin and his supporters' claim that the recall is a Republican-backed attempt to subvert the democratic process. The POA saying in part, quote, they can keep repeating that tired narrative, but 83,000 citizens of San Francisco who signed the recall effort aren't Republicans. They are from all walks of life who are dissatisfied with the state of the city and the performance of the DA. We're live in San Francisco. Christian Captain, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, Christian, and a lot of that criticism comes from what we see in San Francisco, which is this revolving door. Wondering if Chesa Boudin had anything to say about that, and also, you know, the questions about why so many repeat offenders are released again and again.
Yeah, this was one of the questions that I did have for him. And he'd said that he is prosecuting the cases as best he can. He says, again, that he's relying on the police to bring him strong cases. He says that he stands on his record that if the police bring him strong cases, he will prosecute those cases, and then he will seek whatever kinds of consequences are available to him. So this is the DA's argument, saying that he is doing his job, and he's doing the best that he can right now with what he's getting in terms of cooperation from the police.
And that'll be up for voters to decide next year during that recall. Christian, thank you.
He hasn't even been in the job very long.
No, and by the way, I don't know where the POA president gets off saying that 83,000 people who signed the petition aren't Republicans. Okay, sure, a large chunk of them probably aren't. It is San Francisco, but a good chunk of them are, more than likely, just by the percentages. Probably a higher percentage than most in that 83,000. So I would even venture to guess there are probably about 83,000 Republicans in San Francisco. So it could have all been Republicans. You have no idea unless you look them all up in the voter file. You just have their signatures and their addresses. So anyway, yeah, we shall see what comes out of this. But this is what happens when you upset the apple cart. The Apple vendor starts throwing apple cores at you or something.
Well, I mean, his campaign was like, hey, we're going to go after people who hurt other people, and we're going to like back off on petty crime. And it seems like that's what he's doing.
Absolutely. He's one of those rare politicians who is actually trying to fulfill his campaign promises. And majority still, I think, agree with him. A majority are voting, Californians and San Franciscans for sure are voting for these measures and these reform measures. So yeah, the winds of change in history are on his side. So this is going to be another question of just turnout. And since it's in June, it's in a even year too. Normally, SF elections are in odd years. I think he has a great shot of beating it back because he'll have a better electorate, a larger electorate. I think more people turn out, the safer he's going to be, because the majority of people, like you said, support what he's doing.
Yeah, and I think the election was fairly close, but I think I think it's just, you said it's going to come out to turnout, and I think there's going to be a large group of people who kind of don't give a fuck, who aren't even going to vote, and so it's going to be about, are there more people who are angry about whatever this is than people who are like, hey, this is a great idea and let's keep trying it and see what happens. And that's going to be the difference here. And I mean, elections always come down to turnout, but this one being like a municipal election that is for a recall, that's like an election all by itself. It's literally, you can't rely on the fact that there's other elections going on that other people are voting in. So it's literally just going to be who gets their message out and gets their people to the polls.
Well, you can in a way, in that you're just going to have more people voting. And when you have, this argument gets made a lot. I mean, it's not really, you're not doing anything to turn more people out necessarily than normally would, but you are getting more people who are going to be participating in that election voting. And they tend to be, poorer people of color, progressives, right? So people that will benefit, Chase, having them in the electorate. So it's good to have it overlapping with a more statewide election.
Oh, it's overlapping, really? I thought it was all by itself.
Yeah, it's in June. It'll be in June, so it'll be on the ballot at the same time as the statewide election.
Oh, well, he's going to do pretty well then. So
he should be in decent shape. And you also deal with a lot of the folks who just don't like recalls in the first place, right? Why are you wasting my money? Elections are the accountability measure. So I think he will do well if like you said, if he can raise some money, get the message out, make sure people know what's at stake. And his race was close primarily because he was running against a well-financed and well-supported establishment Democrat, and most of her supporters would more likely sympathize with him in this kind of situation. So
it'd be great if the person he beat came out and was like, no recall.
If Susie came out and said no recall, Susie Loftus came out and said no recall, I think that would pretty much seal the deal for him, and help him beat it back. But it's still going to be work, and it's work that draws away from the work he's trying to do as the DA, and it's going to cost a bunch of people a bunch of money that they shouldn't have to be spending right now, especially with all the other things on the ballot. So it's a shame in a lot of ways, but I think he will prevail.
So we had a story about too many cats earlier, and another thing this week is going to be about too many fucking bears. I like how you're like, let's call it the bear area.
Bear area. What? Let's bear down.
And this isn't the kind of bears you find at the gay bars. This is lions and tigers and bears, oh my.
He's just hanging out. We're used to seeing wildlife, of course, here in the Bay Area, but not quite like this. We're talking about bears. Yep, people in the North Bay are encountering bears, more of them, more often. NBC's Joe Rosado Jr. finds out why.
The Bay Area is a region of nearly 8 million people. It's also home to plenty of critters.
We have more run-ins with possums and raccoons and mountain lions.
But in recent months,
the poor guy seemed really scared.
Another animal has made its presence known.
It's shelter in place. There's a bear in the area.
Twice in the last 6 months, lone black bears have turned up separately in San Anselmo and Petaluma, and it could be a sign of bears to come.
I never knew there were bears in Marin.
Just uphill from Sonoma County's sprawling vineyards sits Sugarloaf Ridge State Park.
We put a camera up out here.
Park manager John Roney of
The Good Wife and I camped there this summer.
which runs the park and campground for
Well, you're
the
not
state,
dead.
says 40 cameras were installed here a few years ago to record the area's wildlife. They soon revealed a new animal making this area home, black bears.
And that's allowed us to see the bears in the park and confirm that they are here.
The bears steer clear of humans, but the cameras have documented their return.
In the past 5 years, we have had hundreds of sightings on the cameras.
As a result of the new visitors, the park is taking steps to keep the bears from getting a taste for human trash.
Just like that. Well, we've changed operations. We empty all the trash cans at night. We've putting up some of our bear canisters.
The goal is to keep the bears from becoming used to humans so they don't become a problem like in Tahoe, where bears routinely ransack cars and homes.
Once the bear gets habituated to trash, it's very difficult to break them of it.
The arrival of the bears a few years ago inspired the creation of the North Bay Bear Collaborative, a group of 16 wildlife agencies and landowners tasked with studying the bears and preparing for their return.
And at present, we don't have a good idea of what the bear numbers are in our area. And without that crucial bit of information, it's kind of hard to manage the population.
Researcher Wendy Hayes of the Sonoma Ecology Center says the group is collecting DNA from bear scat to identify how many bears are in the North Bay.
We did find last year, even though we got cut off early by fires and COVID, 33 individuals we could identify from scat.
One theory of why bears are moving back into the Bay Area is wildfires have claimed some of their habitat.
So that may be pushing bears into places they haven't been historically. And then the bear population in California as a whole does seem to be increasing.
That increase has state and local wildlife agencies looking at ways of keeping the bears wild while keeping the public informed.
In my mind, it's a really great thing to see bears, which are very much a natural part of the ecosystem, coming back in and occupying again places that they'd been absent from.
We haven't lived with bears in our area in a long time. The word bear for some people can inspire awe. For other people, it inspires fear.
A case of nature
Both.
making itself at home.
Depends on the situation.
8 million people. Joe Rosado Jr.
They're very impressive.
NBC Bay Area News.
Joe is with us now. Great story. Yeah, it inspires awe and fear. I liked how she said it best. How did the story develop? How'd you get on the story?
Well, as in the story, I've been doing news here for almost 25 years, and back in May when that bear showed up in San Anselmo, and I thought, man, I've never heard of bears around here. And then we had that incident in Petaluma just a few weeks ago, so I started doing some research, and that's how it steered me to the North Bay Bear Collaborative. And I found out there's a whole group that's organized just to tackle the growing number of bears here and what that's going to mean for us.
Yeah, but Joe, we've been around the Bay Area a long time, and I hadn't heard of all this until just right now. Bears don't want trouble, right?
Well, that's why we're here.
Now, Joe, if bears turn up in your front yard, backyard, or maybe even your kitchen?
Yeah, bears
Feed it.
Do not like being around humans. In fact, at the park, they said that they've only had 4 encounters where people actually saw them in person in the last few years, and once the bears see them, they just tear off. So they recommend making a bunch of noise, scaring them off. They want that to be part of the strategy to keep them away from humans and not wanting to be around humans.
All right, Joe Rosado Jr., nice story, and continue to work on this because I'm guessing, like they were saying, it's more likely that the bear population is increasing in the North Bay. We're back in a moment.
Well, that's good.
Or like they said, I mean, we're the habitat shrinking because of all the wildfires created by humans, and also humans encroaching on their land, camping and living. So yeah, you're going to see more bears. But good for the bears, though. Fuck it, come get the trash.
Yeah, and as you may not believe this, but it's probably more afraid of you than you are of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we saw that one episode of Downballot where we had the girl who saved her dog by punching the bear in the face and knocking it off the fence and scaring it away. So, yeah, even little girls can go at a bear and get him away. All right. Well,
That's been Down Ballot. Everybody, thanks for tuning in this week. You can find me on Twitter. You can just find me there. You can find the Councilman at _Councilman on Twitter, throwing bombs at people and hopefully giving you an easement if you need one.
Trying.
If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you're following the podcast. This podcast has been growing a little bit according to our the metrics that I now pay for. You can give us money at patreon.com/Echoplex and make sure you're following us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. This is Audible Smoke Signals. This is local live listeners hangout. We are doing Local Love right after this, and we have Matt Harrison of Periscope as our remote guest this week. So everybody that likes that Boomers song, you get to fucking, I don't know, yell in the chat about how you like that Boomers song. Thanks for listening to the podcast, and live listeners, hang tight.
Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing green. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. Now get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink, spark it if you got it, and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty in 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Yeah. We do what we want, and what we wanna do, what we want is to jam.